Venn diagrams. Okay, these are going to be very important for Chapter 4 and 5. We've got to know how to draw these. And what I'm going to do is these are Venn diagrams for the 4 categorical propositions. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to do this, and this is in section 4.3. 4.3, we'll put this here, introduces how you draw Venn diagrams, and then in 4.3 it does talk about the modern square of opposition, and it's going to go into Boolean and Aristotelian stuff, Aristotelian logic. Don't worry about those concepts right now. Wait till I go ahead and read the chapter, but I'm going to have a video on existential import and some other things. There's going to be a batch of reading in there, a few pages, where wait till you see the video. All I want to do right now for 4.3 is to teach you how to do Venn diagrams for A, E, I, and O, okay? Okay, yeah, for those, let me talk about just the regions before we even get into the specific ones. If you look at 4.3, at least in the current textbook you have, they have a Venn diagram, and it's pretty helpful. They have some regions labeled. They have region 1, region 2, region 3, and then region 4. And they, this is the class of Americans. Okay, right here, the subject circle there. The predicate term, they're calling it farmers, okay? So first, let's kind of go over what, with these two classes, what each of the regions mean, and then I'm going to talk about shading a little bit, and then we'll start going over how we do Venn diagrams for A, E, I, and O, okay? So, all right, we have two classes. The subject class would be Americans, the predicate class is farmers. Region 1, what this would be is Americans only, okay? So Americans only. So here's the circle of Americans, and everything from here all the way around here, you get it. It's Americans only, okay? Right here, too, this would be both Americans and farmers, right? Because you see, Americans and farmers are overlapping right in the middle. This overlap region is, this is a person who's an American and a farmer. Here, you're just an American, but you're not a farmer, because here's the farmer circle, right? And you're out of the farmer circle. So 1 is Americans only. 2 is a person who's an American and a farmer. 3, you guessed it, it would be farmers only. And then 4, which is completely, if we had a little, let's make a little square here. Okay, something like that. 4 is outside of both circles. This is a person who's neither a farmer, neither an American or a farmer, okay? So one more time. Region 1 is Americans only. Region 2 is a person who's an American and a farmer. Region 3, farmers only, and Region 4, neither a farmer or American. So we could, erase this a little bit more, clean this up a little bit, and do this again. Okay, so we have Americans, farmers, 1, Americans only, because they're not in the overlap region. 2, a person who's an American and a farmer. It's overlapping, right? 3, farmers only. 4 is neither an American or a farmer. Okay, now with shading, here's how you shade. If, and then we'll talk about this when we start doing the Venn diagrams. Okay, when a region is empty with Venn diagrams, Venn's system was, if a region is empty, let's just say you have something that says, you have Americans and farmers, but in this community, nobody is an American and a farmer. Let's just say you had that. That means the region here, Americans and farmers, is empty, right? No one where we live is an American and a farmer at the same time. So there's going to be no one in region 2. Well, you know how Venn, the notation he used to communicate that a region is empty is he shaded it. So this seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Why are we shading? If something's empty, why don't we leave it alone? He said if a region is empty, you shade it. So you actually fill it in with these hash marks, these lines. That's what he means by shading. You don't shade it in solid. You draw these lines here, okay? And if you go in your book, in chapter section 4.3, it talks about that. So that means empty, okay? So if we're going to come over here and erase that, and what if someone is never an American? Like, let's say every single American is a farmer. That would mean you're never going to have an American that's not, you're not going to have someone that's an American only. If every American is a farmer, then they're going to be in this region. That means you're never going to have an American that's not a farmer, right? So this region here, Americans only, but not farmers, this would be empty, so you would shade, you would convey it's empty by just doing lines in here. So these are lines. You don't shade it in solid. That means empty, empty region, okay? Now, what do you do about if there's one member, if you have some, okay, at least one member, with Venn diagrams, the way you represent one thing is you use an X. So if you had something, there's at least one American that is a farmer, you would use X, okay? There's at least one American that's not a farmer. You would convey that. That would be, so here there's at least one American that is a farmer. You'd put an X in here. Then if you had there's at least one American that isn't a farmer, you'd put an X over here, right? American only, not a farmer. So basically the two shadings is you're going to need to put an X sometimes in a Venn diagram, and you're going to need to put these lines in a particular region, which means empty. So this means empty. Counterintuitive. I don't know why. Why didn't you just leave it blank? But that means empty, and an X means there's at least one particular member that exists. Okay? So with that, let's start doing the Venn diagrams for the four categorical propositions. Okay? So we have the A proposition, all right? A, and you remember, A is all S R P, okay? And this is the S class, right? And this is the P class, and for Venn diagrams, the S class is always the left circle. It's always over here. The predicate class is always on the right. Now let's say you had all horses are white. If you wanted to label this H, you could, that could be H, and white could be white things, okay? But just for now, S is whatever the S class is, P is whatever the predicate class is. So how would you diagram all SRP? Basically, what it's saying here is that everything that is an S is a P. So every single S is also a P. So that if it says every S overlaps with the P region is a P too, so then that means that right here, this region is going to be empty. If every S overlaps in the P region, every S is included in P, then here is the S class, right? This is all the members of S. It says every single S is a P, so that means from here all the way around, you're not going to have any S. This is going to be empty. If every single S overlaps with the P region, that means if there are S's, they're right here. So this means you're not going to have any S's here. Every S is in the P region. So that means you're not going to have any S that's not in the P region. If all S are P, then you're not going to have S that are not P. If you don't have S that are not P, this is empty. Okay? So all S are P, that's what you do. You shade that region there. Okay, let's go to the E statement. And you got to remember with Venn diagrams, they're starting with the subject and telling you how the subject is related to P. And then with Venn diagrams, once you know how S is related to P, then you say to yourself, okay, if all S are P, that means they're all here. You want to do this. So, let's see, dot, 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 dot. So, I need to draw here. Okay, so see it as two steps. So you got to think this through. If every single S is to overlap within the P region, every S is also a P. So that means you're never going to find any S that are not P's, so that means I have to shade this to convey it's empty. Okay? Let's go to the E statement, right? E is no S are P, and here S, this is the S class right here. This is the P class. And what it's saying is you are not going to find one S, none of the S, none of these S, anything in the S class is not going to be a P. That's like saying you're not going to have any American that's also a farmer, right? So if no S are P, that means no S is going to overlap in the P region. If you have an S, it's over here as an S, but it's not a P. No S's are P's, not one. So we know that this region is going to be empty. Okay? That conveys, when you look at this, if there are S's and they exist, you're not really getting into that right now. What we know from logic is, if no S's will ever be P's, that means this overlap region is going to be empty. And if it's empty, dot, 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 if no S or P, the middle region is empty. So we need to draw here, shading. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one. Here we have the I statement. Okay? I. And this one is some S are P. Now what this means is there is at least one S thing that is in the P circle. And if you see something like RP, if you wanted to help translate that, that means in the P circle. Here this means there's no S in the P circle. So the S is going to be here. And if we went above, it says this up here for the A proposition, it says every single S is in the P circle. So RP inside the P circle. RP in the P circle. Some S are P, some S are in the P circle. So if we were going to say this in another way, we'd say there is at least one S member or thing that is in the P circle. So this means we're going to put an X there. There's at least one S member or thing that's inside the P circle. Here, actually, you know what? I drew the wrong circle here. I'm in the wrong. Let's go up here. Okay. So it's right there. Okay. There's at least one S thing that's inside the P circle. Let's go back again, and the repetition, I'm doing this on purpose. There is not one S member that's inside the P circle, so you shade that. And if you go back up here, every single S member is inside the P circle, so that's why this is empty. Okay, so let's go back down. There's at least one S member inside the P circle. And remember, S can only go this far, so it's going to go in the P circle here. It won't be here because then it's not an S, right? But remember, there's kind of a two-stage to this. So there's at least one S member that's inside the P circle. So, just do this. So, I need to draw here, according to Dr. Venn. Okay, so you find out what it understands, and then, okay, how do I represent that? And let's go to the last one, the O proposition. Okay, and here's our S class, here's our P class, and remember the O proposition is some S are not P. And when you remember I said RP means inside the P circle, R not P means outside the P circle. Okay? So here we have what this means, it's not inside the P circle. RR means inside. Some S or not P is outside the P circle. It's not in. Okay? So there's at least one S thing that is not inside the P circle. You remember, if you had RP, it's inside the P circle. R not means it's not inside the P circle. So you have at least one S thing that is not in the P circle. R not P means it's outside. So you have one S thing that is outside the P circle. And it's an S, right? It can only stay in this region. And if it's outside the P circle, you've got to make sure you don't put an X here, right? The X has to be outside the P circle, because here's P, right? There is at least one S member that's not inside the P circle. It's outside the P circle. So you would put an X right there. Okay? So that is how you draw the 4 Venn diagrams. And if I was going to, you want to get these things memorized. So if we were going up here and I was just doing this real quick, all S or P, pretty soon you will get very good at this, and you're just going to go, okay, this region is empty. Okay, no S or P, you're going to do this. I'm just duplicating this. You're going to get this good. Then you go over here, some S are, at least one is inside the P circle. And then you come back down and there's at least one S that's not in the P circle, that is outside the P circle. You're going to do that, okay? So for A, E, I, and O, that's how you do Venn diagrams. Watch this video more than once. Read 4.3, the parts that deal with the shading and the Venn diagram. It's a few pages. I want you to ignore the other parts where it talks about the modern square of opposition, testing immediate inferences. There's a few pages on there. The existential fallacy. I'm going to have a separate video on that stuff. Okay? All right. Well, I certainly hope this helps. Here's where the videos really can come into play, just when we're doing these graphs. Okay? All right. See you then.